So while you were in the Kalamazoo police station, called your mother, or you had a conversation with your mother, correct?
With my father.
Okay. You don't remember your mother answering the call when the telephone was directed, the phone call was directed towards her?
I believe we tried to reach her, but my father picked up.
You don't remember telling your mother to contact that attorney that they have for you? You don't remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a conversation with your mother, correct?
I don't remember who it was, but I remember asking them to contact my attorney.
Okay. And there was a question proposed to you, are they holding you, right? Remember that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Okay. If you were to hear this conversation, would it probably refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're going to have to just show him though if maybe do earphones or something there. Because he has to go through a personal recollection. Or you can
I teach.
clear the podium. And I think the clean people keep putting everything up on the podium
Okay.
at night, and then it's just causing more issues.
Now, if I could have you direct your attention to the screen behind you, do you recognize this individual?
Yeah.
Who is that?
That's me.
That's you? Okay. And would you agree that this would accurately depict the conversation you had while you were in Kalamazoo's police station on November the 8th, 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, I will play it. Volume working? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me.
I think I have to exit out and go back in, Judge. Sorry.
sorry, I might just lay it on mine.
Is there another person or another phone number you can give them? Because I can't find it.
And state where you're starting.
I'm starting at 2:16 and 38 seconds into the video. It's only playing through mine.
Hi, Mom.
Jeff.
This is Jeff.
Hi, Jeffrey. Where are you?
I had a panic attack and ended up in the Kalamazoo police station.
Okay.
If you could please contact that attorney for me.
Okay. We'll call her right now. Are they holding you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll call the attorney.
Okay.
Are they keeping you overnight or what are they doing?
I don't know.
Jeffrey, do you need medical assistance right now?
I could use a psychiatrist, yes.
Well, you need to tell them that.
I did.
And what did they say?
They haven't said anything.
Okay. Okay. All right, we have to wait till tomorrow morning before we can call the attorney.
Yeah, I understand.
What police station are you in Kalamazoo?
We're at Jackson.
The Kalamazoo Public Safety Headquarters.
Can you give me an idea where that is?
No, I don't know. I was driven here.
There's somebody there with you now?
Yes.
And Judge,
Yes.
I guess I'm going to object to this point. I think we went beyond any
Okay.
impeachment or refreshing of recollection or whatever purpose this might have been.
So you would agree that you spoke to your mother,
Yes.
okay, and you told her to call the police. I mean, not police, but I'm sorry, attorney.
Yes.
Okay. And you would agree that your mother never asked, "What are you being arrested for?" Right? You'd agree to that, right?
Yes.
Your mother never asked, "What are you being detained for?" Right?
Yes.
Okay. Your mother already knew, right? Because you had a conversation with your mother prior to you calling the police, correct?
No.
Oh, you didn't? You went over to Chicago the week before this particular day. Isn't that true?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And you saw your parents that weekend.
Yes.
Okay. And you stated earlier that the attorney you had was recommended by a friend of yours, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you also say that after the date of October 22nd, you never retained her services. Didn't you say that?
That's correct.
Okay. So when you say the attorney you got for me, at this point in time, she, according to your direct testimony, she wasn't even your attorney,
That's correct.
right? But you told them to get the attorney they had previously got for you or had got for you at this particular time, right?
I don't believe
You don't believe?
that that's what I said.
Okay. So you didn't tell your mother or father the weekend before to get in contact with your attorney?
The weekend before, no.
You didn't? Okay. You knew exactly what you were being arrested for and detained, didn't you?
I knew what I had said, and I knew that it was. Yes, I knew that I had said some incriminating things. Yes.
Okay, and you knew what you were being arrested for and detained for, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, an officer asked you, like, hey, do you know what you're being detained for? And you said yes. Told him yes, right? So it was no surprise to you on why you were being arrested, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I was having delusions and
Okay. You didn't have a delusion when the officer asked you, do you know why you're being detained? You didn't have a delusion there, did you?
no.
You gave him a very lucid answer. Correct? You would agree?
I'm not sure when this happened.
Okay. If you saw it, maybe you could have possibly. Are you saying it did not happen?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? I could scroll to 3:07 in 20 seconds. For the record, I'm playing at 3:07 and 11 seconds.
No water? Well, you got water.
Yeah.
You need a snack to use the bathroom or anything like that? You know what's going on with you right now? Huh?
I'm being detained, yeah.
You know what for?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you know. Okay.
Now, sir, you would agree that you seem pretty lucid in your answer. You would agree to that, right? You would agree with that?
I believe that I was having difficulty for several days afterwards.
Okay, you would agree that your answer was a lucid answer.
Yes.
Okay. You would agree that you didn't have any rapid breathing at this point in time, right?
That's correct.
You're not hyperventilating, correct?
No.
You're not crying or shaking, right? At this point, at this point in time, right? You'd agree with that?
If you want to play the tape back, I was crying and shaking prior to this.
I'm asking, when this question was proposed to you, you did not cry when you answered the question, right?
Yes.
Okay. You understood the question, correct?
Yes.
You never said or implied that you didn't understand what his question was, right?
No.
You didn't imply that you didn't understand why you were being detained, right?
No.
Because you had an opportunity to think about what his question was before you even answered it, right?
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to think about why you were being detained before he even asked you about it. You were thinking about that, weren't you?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. Prior to him even asking you, do you know why you're being detained? You were thinking about why you were sitting in a police station at that very time. You thought about it, didn't you?
So you're asking me, I had to predict that he was going
No.
to ask me that
I'm
question?
not asking that. I'm asking before he even walked into the room, you were sitting in your own mind thinking about how you landed into the police station. Correct?
I was trying to understand what had happened to me. When I was sitting in that room, I was trying to understand what had gone on to cause me this utterly abnormal behavior that I had never experienced before, had never experienced since,
Which
and I believe was caused by an adverse reaction to this medication.
Now, when you say adverse behavior that you've never experienced, are you talking about the actions that happened on October the 20th? Those actions? Is that what you were thinking about?
No.
Oh, you wasn't thinking about that at all. That didn't cross your mind at all. You weren't replaying in your mind anything about October the 20th leading into the 21st at all. All that time you were sitting in that police station. Is that what you're saying? You didn't think about it at all?
Again, if you listen to that tape, I have zero recollection of anything that happened
So you say.
related to those events.
So you say. My question is, while you were sitting in that police station, were you thinking about what happened on October the 20th or 21st? Were you going through in your mind about anything about the 20th or the 21st?
No.
You weren't? You were thinking about losing your job, though, weren't you?
No, I was trying to understand what.
You were thinking about losing your job, right?
No.
You weren't? Okay. I'd like to go to 4:38 and 19 seconds. You heard yourself, right? You said you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose.
You can't shake your head.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So you heard yourself say, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose everything, right?
Yes.
So you were sitting there thinking about losing your job, right?
Yes.
Because you knew why you were there. Correct? You knew why you was there.
Yes.
And you knew what the consequences of your actions would be. Didn't you?
I knew that sitting in a police station after.
Sir, did you know what the consequences of your actions would be? Yes or no?
Which actions?
Or what led you to sit in that seat and make that comment about losing your job?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You thought about the actions that led you to sit in that seat on video and make a statement that you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose everything. You knew what those consequences were, right?
Again, I was having an adverse reaction to the medication, and I was having
Okay.
panic attacks. You can see there that I'm not, in your words, lucid.
You seem pretty lucid to me. For you to form a conclusion in your mind that you're going to lose your job. You formed that conclusion, didn't you?
I was panicking, sir.
You formed that conclusion that you're going to lose your job, correct? Right? That you could potentially lose your job. You said that, right?
Yes, I did say
Okay.
that.
And you know what you were being detained and arrested for, right?
I knew what I had said, yes.
You knew what you were being detained for, right? And arrested for, correct?
I knew what I had said.
And you knew that you made the connection in your mind that based upon what you said and done, it could lead or possibly, in your mind, not even possibly, but in your mind, you're going to lose your job based upon
Judge,
your actions.
objection. I think this is the 5th time this has been asked and answered. We're just going around in circles here.
Now, when did you begin this new medication?
I believe I started it, so there was a period that I had to ramp down the previous medication, and I began to ramp up the Auvelity. I believe I took it for several days at the beginning of November, and had taken double the dosage on I began to double the dosage on the 6th
The 6th of what month?
November.
November. Now, you spoke to the police earlier on October the 22nd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point in time, you weren't showing any emotions, were you? With the police. You weren't crying when you were talking about Samantha's death on October the 22nd, were you?
I did not cry during
Okay.
that
Okay.
interview. No.
Okay. You weren't showing any emotions, were you?
Judge, objection. That's a mischaracterization. And I don't think he wants us to open the door to putting that whole video in 2 hours. We're getting close to that.
That'd be fine with me. You would agree that your reaction to you thinking you would lose your job was a lot more emotional than you were when you spoke to detectives on October the 22nd, the day after or the day you say that you heard she died.
You weren't there at the funeral.
That's my question. My question was,
Yeah, I was emotional at the funeral.
okay, and you were emotional when you were thinking about losing your job, right? You would agree to that.
Yes.
And you would agree that the emotion level that you displayed about thinking about losing your job was much greater than the emotion you displayed when you spoke to detectives on October the 22nd.
Again, I was going in and out of having panic attacks on November 7th, and I was having difficulty with my thoughts and emotions
Okay,
at that time.
so that would be a yes. You displayed a lot more emotions about losing your job than you did when speaking about Samantha. That'd be a yes, right?
When speaking about Samantha in the police station on October 22nd, yes.
Now, stated you have a history of depression.
That's correct.
Okay. And when Samantha broke up with you multiple times, I'm sure that didn't help your depression, right?
No, it was difficult.
It was difficult. It added to your depression, right?
Sure.
And And
Yes.
you weren't happy that she added to your depression. You weren't happy, were you?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Were you happy that
No,
she
I
added
was-
to your depression?
I was unhappy that she broke up with me.
And you blamed her for the breakup, right? It wasn't your decision, right?
I blame myself for the breakup. I
But
believe
you try to convince her that you guys should be together after you broke up, right?
that's correct.
And when you try to convince her, in your mind, it was her decision and she was the reason why you broke up, right?
I think those are two separate things. I think it was her decision, but I believe that I was the reason that we broke up.
Did you change anything?
I tried.
You tried. What did you try to change?
I tried to call her more. She wanted more physical touching, so I tried that. I brought her flowers. I apologized.
And she rejected all of that. Despite you doing all of those different actions, she still rejected you, didn't she?
I think reject is a strong word.
She didn't embrace you back into her arms and y'all lived happy ever after. That didn't happen, did it?
We did get back together, but ultimately
She broke up with you again, correct?
Yes.
Despite you stepping out of, in your mind, your comfort zone, doing things that made you uncomfortable, she still rejected you. Yes?
Again, rejection, I believe is not the right word to
Okay.
use for
She
what happened.
she didn't take you back. Despite you doing all those different actions, she broke up with you again. Correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
I understood.
Okay.
I wrote a text to that effect saying that I understood.
Okay. You weren't happy though.
I was sad.
Okay. Now, did you and Samantha ride bikes together?
No, I believe we never got the chance to ride bikes together
You never got the chance. And how long were you together for?
for a year.
For a year. You're an avid bike rider, aren't you?
Yes,
Okay. And Samantha's a bike rider herself, right?
yes,
And sometimes she rides bikes to Belle Isle, right?
that's correct.
And sometimes she rides bikes to Belle Isle with other guys, right?
Yes,
Okay. And not you, right?
yes.
Okay. That didn't make you happy knowing that, did it?
To my knowledge, she rode her bike to Belle Isle with Paul.
Okay. Okay. Is that the only guy you knew about?
Yes,
Now, Samantha wasn't a person who would share emojis with you, did she?
I don't recall if she shared emojis with me.
You don't recall it? You recall that question being asked of you by the police and you said no? Right?
Okay,
And it was the truth when you said it, though, right? Because you were being honest, right?
yes,
Okay. Did you know that her to share emojis with other guys, like hearts?
I knew she shared hearts with her friend Laura.
Did you know about a guy named David Wilkinson?
No,
Did you know about a guy named Aaron Pergament?
no,
Okay. Did you know about a guy named Robert or Bob Becker?
no,
So you didn't know that she was intimate with these guys?
no.
Now, you would go over to Samantha's house from time to time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that, to your knowledge, Samantha never fell asleep on her couch? Isn't that true?
That's false. I fell asleep on the couch with her.
So you're saying that you never told the police that you never fell asleep on the couch with her? Is that what you're saying? Sir, just be honest.
The honest truth is that we fell asleep on the couch together.
Okay. Sorry, bear with me. I have to start this Gen-Tech video player. For the record, I'm starting at 7:28 and leaves 26 seconds.
Tricky sometimes, but yeah, there wasn't not much of a bedtime ritual, no.
Okay. Like, would she fall asleep on the couch sometimes?
Not while we were together.
Sorry, you heard yourself, right?
I interpreted that question as would she fall asleep by herself on the couch?
You never followed up with a statement saying that, hey, we fell asleep together on the couch. You never said that, did you?
You're right.
And you understood the question, right? You understood what she meant when she said, did she ever fall asleep on the couch? You know what that means, right? Ever. With or without you. You would agree that's what it means, right?
You got me.
I'm not trying to get you. I just want the truth. That's what I want.
The truth was that in that case, I believe that they were referring to her sleeping by herself on the couch.
Okay, but you never clarified what was going through your mind and said, hey, she never fell asleep alone, but we fell asleep together. You never said that.
You're right.
Thank you. Now, you have a Volkswagen iOS?
EOS.
EOS? Okay. Is that equipped with GPS?
It has navigation, yes.
Navigation? Okay. Does it have any type of maybe emergency features, sort of like OnStar?
No, it doesn't have OnStar or anything like that.
Or something similar to OnStar, where you can push a button and speak to a live operator
No.
or emergency services?
No.
Okay. And as far as you know, was that GPS functional?
Yes, the navigation system
The,
worked.
the navigation system works? Now, I guess you indicated that on Saturdays you try not to work or labor?
That's right.
Okay. But didn't you tell the police the Saturday of her death you went to Eastern Market, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you classify that as work?
No,
Oh, that's not work? Just going shopping?
I meant work for pay.
Oh, for pay. Labor. Wouldn't you classify labor as having to, the opposite of rest?
So, if you want to get into my theology,
No, I'm just asking you a certain question. I don't want to get into your theology. I'm just asking you a question.
okay.
I think you should be allowed to answer the question. This
I mean,
100% goes to his religious practices. I think you should be allowed.
and you also, after you left the Eastern Market, you stated that you then went to the credit union, right? Or attempted to go to the credit union.
I went home and then went to the credit.
Okay, you went home to put the food up.
That's right.
Okay. Then you attempted to go to the credit union, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And then you stated that you then went to yoga?
That's correct.
Okay. And you worked out there, correct, at yoga. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I practiced yoga.
Okay, you practice yoga. Okay. Now, you also stated that you went to the synagogue that Saturday when you allegedly stated that you first heard that Samantha had died, correct? You went to the synagogue, correct?
Yes, later
Okay.
that afternoon, yes.
Who was there? Who did you see?
Shira Heisler, Zach Rosen, the Robinsons, Noam Kimmelman, Jen Rusciano. Those are some of the names that come to mind first.
Okay. Now, the Friday that of the 20th, you stated that you were at home allegedly listening to a podcast?
After going to synagogue, yes.
Okay. And what device did you listen to this podcast on?
On my phone,
On your phone?
yes.
Okay. You know approximately what time you listened to this podcast at?
Somewhere between 8 and 10, I believe.
8 and 10? Okay. So like a 2-hour podcast?
I think it was shorter than that, yeah.
Okay. And after the podcast went off, what, if anything, did you do?
I listened to a record,
A record?
yeah.
Okay. And you can't remember what record you listened to, right?
It was, I don't remember the specific record, but it was one by Jackson-Bolanos.
Okay. Do you typically turn off your location when you're at home?
No,
You don't? But, so you typically don't do it, but sometimes, have you ever turned off your location?
no.
Okay. Now, let's go back to some of the statements that you made on your 911 call. You stated that you know you were in trouble. Remember that?
Yes,
Okay. And when you said that, you were referring to the death of Samantha, weren't you?
yes, I had convinced myself that I was involved with the death of Samantha.
Convinced yourself, okay. And you stated earlier, you're a pragmatist, right? You think in a very analytical, methodical, meticulous way, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you're not a person who's easily persuaded?
Sure.
Okay. So when you say you convince yourself, that would take a lot of thinking about a situation in order to convince yourself that something happened. You would agree to that, right?
Or it could be caused by a delusion that
A
happened
delusion.
from the medication that I was taking.
You never mentioned this word at all to the police, delusion. You said you were having a panic attack. You never said this word, delusion, at all on the 911 phone call or while you were in Kalamazoo police station, right?
I believe that at some point I refer to myself as having a psychotic break. I'm not sure that I had the right language for what was going on with me.
So you agree that this word delusion was given to you to use in this particular setting?
Again, we agreed that I'm not that kind of doctor.
Okay.
And that an appropriate doctor has given me an appropriate language.
And your attorneys gave you that same word to use, correct?
No, my psychiatrist.
So you're saying your attorney never told you to use the word delusion while you're sitting in this chair? Be honest.
We discussed the language.
Okay. I thought so. Thank you. Okay, it's not a question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, the next statement you made was you felt that you were trying to outsmart people. You said that, didn't you?
I did say that, yes.
Okay. And prior to today, you were told to say what you allegedly meant by that. You were given a suggestion on how to answer that question, weren't you?
No.
That was never spoke about during your practice cross-examination or direct examination with your attorney?
No.
Okay. So every other aspect of that phone call was rehearsed except that very detail? Is that what you're saying?
A number of aspects were discussed, but I don't believe we discussed that aspect.
You don't believe? So your memory could be bad, right? Right? You could be mistaken, correct? Or just don't want to tell the truth. Correct?
Are you accusing me of not telling the truth?
I'm asking you a question. Is it possible?
No, it sounded like you were accusing me of not telling the truth.
Is it possible that you're mistaken, that you forgot that that particular subject matter was discussed and rehearsed prior to you coming to testify today?
I don't believe we discussed that specifically.
So what you meant by that is you trying to outsmart people is you knew you left your phone at home on the day of October the 21st. Or the 20th going to the 21st, correct?
I left my phone at home because I was at home.
Okay. When you made that statement, obviously you had some thought in your mind about you're trying to outsmart somebody, right? You didn't just make this statement without carefully analyzing and thinking about it before you said it, right? You meant something by it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were speaking in reference to Samantha Woll's murder, correct?
Yes.
And at no point in time did you ever make a statement that contradicted it. You never talked to the police after that and made a statement that says, I meant this by it, did you?
I'm not sure I understand.
After November the 8th, you never made you never had another written statement that you signed by the police indicating what you meant by that particular statement, right?
No,
Okay.
if I were to have to, if I were to make an additional statement,
Thank
that
you.
would have not been
Thank you.
true.
If you would have made an additional statement other than what you said, it wouldn't have been the truth, right?
No, that's not what I said. If
Is that what you said?
any additional statement would have not been the truth. I told the truth
Okay,
in
but
the initial statement that I gave the police.
but you made another statement on 911, right? That's a statement. Came out of your mouth, right? It came out of your mouth, correct?
Again,
Sir, did it come out of your mouth?
it did come out of
Okay, so you would agree that it's a statement, correct?
yes,
Okay.
but not the truth.
So, is that the only time you've ever, in your mind, not told the truth? Is when you allegedly made this up about what happened to Samantha? That the only time you didn't tell the truth? In your life? Or recently?
Well, that's pretty good.
Okay. I'll be more specific. Would you consider yourself an honest person?
Yes.
Okay. Do you always just make things up that didn't happen?
No.
Okay. So you're saying that this is the only time that you could remember that you made up something.
This is the only time that I was having an adverse reaction to a medication.
Okay.
That
So did that medication make you visualize something in your mind that happened?
no, again, as I said on the tape, I couldn't remember anything
Okay.
related to the events.
Are you familiar with repressed memories?
I've heard the term. I'm not familiar. I wouldn't say I'm familiar with them.
If you've heard the term, so that wasn't discussed before. You never discussed like possibly having a repressed memory, like your mind forgot about certain key details, or at least tried to forget about certain details of a traumatic event. You never sought that out. You didn't try to get to the truth of the matter and say, okay, maybe I had maybe I had a repression of a traumatic event. You never tried to figure out if that was the case in this particular situation?
As far as I know, that's
As far as you know what?
no. I never tried to look into whether it was a repressed memory. No.
Oh, it was just more convenient for you, of course, to take it's a delusion road versus trying to get down to the truth of the matter to see, in fact, was this a repressed memory of an act that actually happened?
Judge, I'm going to object to this on multiple bases. Number one, it's argumentative. Number two, I don't think there's any scientific basis for this concept of repressed memories that's offered on the record by an expert that can opine on this issue.
His name.
Judge, maybe approach.
Sure.
that you undertook transcranial magnetic stimulation?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know of whether or not that has any effect on your memory as far as a side effect potentially?
I don't know.
You don't know that? Okay. Were any of the side effects discussed with you?
Yes,
Okay. And you just don't remember if that was one of them, correct?
that's correct.
You also stated on the 911 call that no one was arrested for the death of Samantha Woll at that particular time, to your understanding, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Were you keeping up with the case?
Yes,
Okay. And how were you keeping up with the case?
through the news.
Through the news? Okay. You also made a statement on the 911 call, "What have I done?" Remember that?
Yes.
And prior to you making that statement, you replayed October 20th to the 21st before making that statement, correct?
No.
Can you give your voice up? Just
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure, we can hear you.
Now, this knife that was in your car, you indicated that this was a seatbelt cutter?
It had a slot that had for cutting seatbelts. Yes.
Okay. And that's one of the reasons why you had it. So you say, correct?
Yes, and it also had an end to break glass. Yes.
Okay. And approximately how long did you have this knife for?
Years. I believe I looked back and I have a receipt from 2015 for the knife.
Okay. Now, were you provided any additional cell phone as part of your employment with Stryker?
No.
Okay. Did you have any Google Voice or anything? An alternate number?
I do have a Google Voice number. Yes.
Oh, okay. Did the authorities know about that Google Voice number?
No.
And why do you use this Google Voice?
Because it transcribes messages for me and sends them to my email.
Okay.
So if somebody leaves a voice message, I get an email about it.
Okay, so you receive phone calls on this Google Voice.
I receive phone calls through my phone, and it worked to transcribe those phone calls
Okay.
and send them to my email.
In Google Voice, you can also use it to send text messages, correct?
If that's the case, I've never done that.
After the death of Samantha, you had a bonfire at your house, correct?
That's correct.
And the theme was Kumbaya?
I don't believe there was a theme.
Was that thing? You didn't call it Kumbaya?
No.
Okay. And where was this bonfire at in relation to? Was it in the backyard?
Yes.
Do you have a fire pit?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a store-bought fire pit, or is it did you make it out of rocks?
It's a store-bought fire.
Store-bought fire pit. Okay. Do you always keep this fire pit outside when it's not in use?
Yes.
Now, you invited some other people, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that before your guest arrived, you already had the fire started?
No.
Did you start the fire yourself?
I believe friend Jenya Guzman started the fire while I was still preparing.
Could you spell that?
Her last name is Gazman. And
Just phonetically.
her first name EVGENIYA, I believe.
In relation to the, I may be mispronouncing it, Avalde, is that the name of the prescription?
Avalde.
Avalde, okay. You stated that you didn't have any side effects initially, correct?
That's correct.
So you went from having no side effects to what you describe as something that clouded your memory of what happened.
I believe that's not how I described the side effects at all, no.
Okay. But you did testify on direct that allegedly you did not commit the murder and you convinced yourself, correct? That's what you stated, right?
That's right.
Okay. And you stated the reason why you felt you convinced yourself was because of a side effect from this prescription, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so just to be clear, you went from having no side effects to this medication trying to, the side effect, convincing yourself of doing a murder.
Yes, so
Okay.
so
Okay,
the
thank you.
previous day
Thank you.
okay.
And prior to the police coming, you told them that in fact you took all of your, this is on November the 8th, just to be clear, in Kalamazoo, you were staying at the 4 Points Sheraton, correct?
Yes.
And prior to the police coming, you took all of your stuff out of the hotel, correct?
That's correct.
Because you knew you were about to go to jail, correct?
I knew that
You knew you were about to go to jail, correct?
I thought that I would go to the hospital.
You thought you would go to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay. You were cognitive enough to have the state of mind prior to calling 911 to go into the hotel room and remove all of your items, correct?
I was already in the hotel room.
Okay. You had the state of mind, presence of mind, prior to calling 911 to remove all of your items from the hotel, correct?
Yes.
And not only remove the items from the hotel, to take them to your automobile, correct?
That's correct.
Your panic attack didn't prohibit you from having that state of mind to remove your items from the hotel,
That's
correct?
correct.
Counsel, could you unplug your?
Oh, I'm sorry.